the Without the Bank podcast, where you and I are going to talk about all things IBC, the business of banking, utilizing money correctly, and how this will help you grow your business and your wealth. Okay, let's get started. Today is going to be a little bit of a hard conversation, but a conversation that needs to be had because everything that I do, I shouldn't say everything is very general. A large part of what I do is talking about the infinite banking concept and talking about banking, using the life insurance policy, how we can create some wealth in there, how we can get away from the banks, all that good stuff. And then the other large part of what I talk about with every single client is estate planning and how this bank and life insurance policy that we're going to use as a bank, it's not a bank, the life insurance policy that we're going to use as a bank is actually going to also be part of our estate plan. And so in 11 years that I have been doing this, I've only had to file 2 death claims. That is, to me, with the large number of clients that I have, that is pretty awesome that I haven't had to file a lot of death claims. 2 weeks ago, I received a call from one of my clients, new clients, that the husband passed away. The husband and the dad passed away. We just wrote those life insurance policies 4 months before he passed. 4 months. Absolutely crazy. Every client that writes a policy with me gets a thank you gift from me. I haven't even sent out their thank you gift yet, which means I'm not on time. This is proof that we don't know when our time is up. That's what this is proof of. Yesterday, from when I'm recording this, I received another phone call from a client that I have a policy on the father and the son passed away. 2 claims in 2 weeks. I've gone 11 years. We have a 65-year-old and a 27-year-old. And both of them, unexpected. They were healthy. They were doing fine. The young individual, I have had a policy on for 4 years. So let's talk about what happens in these policies and the importance of this. And when I talk to my clients about estate planning, we are talking about how do we create something for the next generation with discounted dollars. We have one guarantee, and that is that we are not getting out of here alive. As hard as that conversation is, and sometimes I make light of it and say, well, we're going to die. Well, we're going to die. Not everybody feels that light about it. And because I talk about it all day long, and because I experience it through my clients, because I experience it through my colleagues, it is my industry. We are not getting out alive, folks. I talked to a client yesterday that said, well, my dad thinks he's never going to die. Okay, so everybody else is, but he's not, right? He's going to live forever. It doesn't happen. And so one of my clients was a business owner and one was a farmer. Now, keep in mind, farmers are business owners as well. But one profession was a construction, one profession was farming. It does not matter what they were doing as a family operation. One had a family construction business, one had a family farm. Does it matter when one of those people die that the family doesn't need the death benefit to carry on? No, it does not matter. Farming is not special. Business is not special. The business has to be passed off to the mom, the kids, whatever, however that business transition is going to go. But when I talked to the business owner, when I talked to the son, I said, well, now we have to decide what we're going to do with the death benefit. We have options. When we talked and when you bought the policy 4 months ago, that policy was purchased with the intent that when dad passes, that death benefit goes and buys more life insurance on mom or on the son or the daughter or whoever, however we want to look at that. We now have to revisit that family operation. And he said, yep. And the mom said, our son said that I need to make a phone call to you. Because they were already planning prior to dad's passing, right? Because they were already communicating prior to dad's passing. Nobody knew. 5 months ago now, 6 months ago, this whole thing started. His health was perfectly fine. We had nothing wrong. He was in great health. But we already had that conversation, knowing nobody's getting out alive. We have to transition and we have to talk about the fact that it's not just a policy used for banking. It's a policy used for estate planning as well. It really does have a dual purpose. And it's funny when people say to me, well, why are you talking about estate planning? I just want to talk about my stuff. I don't need to worry about what mom and dad have going on. Well, are you working with mom and dad? I'm not going to talk about it unless you have a business with mom and dad or you have a farm with mom and dad. And then we're going to have that conversation. And I want to know what's going on with mom and dad. And if you don't know because they won't say, well, there we go. We got the answer. But that conversation needs to be had because we're planning for the future. I'm not planning for what's going to happen with you tomorrow or what's happening with you right now. I'm planning out 10, 20, 30 years from now, sometimes 40. I want to know what your goals are. I want to know what we want to do with that operation or that business. And so when we look at, and when I talk about discounted dollars, this is what I'm talking about. We have got a life insurance policy that was paid in full for 4 months. They bought the policy, they paid it in full for the year. There will be a return of premium that was not used to the family. There will also be a death benefit that is paid out. Now, on this particular policy, because it is less than 24 months old, there will be an automatic contestability. And so the life insurance will do some due diligence to make sure that nothing was lied on the application, everything was truthful, blah, 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 blah. It's not going to be a big deal because he got sick in August. He died the end of August. And so it was very quick. It's going to be pretty clean. But it's automatic that within 2 years of starting a policy, the life insurance companies will contest it, meaning they will check to make sure that, example, nobody was a drug user and didn't disclose that. Nobody had some cancer or something that was not disclosed and not found, all that good stuff. After they get their return of premium, we are looking at the son had a policy on dad and dad had a policy on himself. We are looking at 2 cents for every dollar of death benefit. 2 cents. Income tax free. Income tax free. And now I wish that it wouldn't be so cheap. I wish that he would have lived for a long time and it would have been 40 cents for every dollar of death benefit, because that's what it should be if he would have lived to about, 85. So I wish that would be the case, but that wasn't the case. 2 cents for every dollar of death benefit. If we take that death benefit and we buy life insurance on mom and the son, we will probably buy 2 to 3 times what we are paying out on dad's passing. 2 to 3 times. So now we took 2 cents and we just doubled it or tripled it. So now we're only paying a half a cent, 1 cent. That's crazy. Do you think that is going to help save that family operation? That will help grow that family operation. That will help give them time to mourn. That will help find an employee that can somewhat replace and help with the business, because now the son steps into dad's role and there's going to be obviously some learning. I mean, the son's worked with him forever and he knows his job, but that doesn't mean that we don't ever stop going and asking for guidance, right? The other client that I have that passed away, he wasn't supposed to go first. Dad was supposed to go first. And in this operation, Dad said to me, I don't even remember how to set the header on the combine because he was the one in charge. I was handing it off to him. They were doing exactly what they were supposed to do. Mom and dad are typically supposed to go first. And the son left the death benefit to mom and dad. He's got land. They've got to take over his land. They don't have to, but they want to take over his land. They want to try to keep farming it. They're going to have to probably hire somebody to do it because dad can't do it all. Their future outlook changes a lot. And in some of these situations, I've seen that when the son passes first, or a daughter, it could be a daughter, I guess, too. But in this case, and in most cases I see, if the son passes first, sometimes dad just says, I'm done. I'm done farming. I'm done running this business. I was doing this to leave something to my children. And since that child is gone, I'm done. I have talked to people where they've lost a son and they themselves have passed a couple years later, literally from a broken heart. It's a real thing. This death benefit will go to help pay some of his debt. I don't know exactly what he has for debt at this point, but to help pay some of this debt, it'll go to help mom and dad maybe be able to hire somebody to finish out the year for them if they need to. Neighbors have been super helpful and super kind to make sure that they can get their crops off. But in this case as well, because this individual was so young, we again paid 3 cents for every dollar of death benefit, income tax free. Now, none of this death benefit is estate tax free if we're over our estate limit, but it will be income tax free for sure. Don't ever sit in a meeting with me and tell me that death benefit is not important. It is not often that I get a little bit snippy with clients in meetings, but when you tell me you don't need death benefit on somebody, I'm going to get a little bit snippy. Because guess what? We're not getting out alive. And would you rather have the death benefit, or would you rather be the recipient of a GoFundMe account that maybe has $3,000 in it? Maybe. A funeral is about $10,000 to $15,000. Life insurance is important. And what I do is more important than just creating a bank. We are making sure that the next generation has a business. We are making sure that the next farm is saved and the next generation can go on. In the case of my client, it's a matter of him possibly saving his farm because he just lost his executive. It's going to take him time to relearn stuff. He is now going to have to do the continuing education on farming because his son was obviously the one doing it. But how crazy it's just crazy to me to think that I have 2 of them in 2 weeks. But as hard as those conversations were with the wife and the son and the dad, they were hard. I'm not going to lie. It is not a fun conversation to have. But I have learned a few things. 1, when somebody passes away, don't ignore. Don't try to avoid the family. They want to talk about that person that passed away. They want to hear your stories. They want to tell stories. The worst thing that we can do is not talk to them about their loved one. They want to talk about their loved one. And that's actually fun. I get to hear fun stories. I get to share some of the stories we had in meetings, right? That's awesome. But I've also learned that nobody ever says, Mary Jo, that's too much money. Have the life insurance keep that money because we don't need that. Nobody says that. Instead, it reduces their stress level because they know they're getting a death benefit check that is able to take care of medical expenses. My one client was in the hospital. There's going to be medical expenses. We get to take care of that. We get to take care of funeral expenses. There's so many things that need to change or get changed when somebody passes away. All the way down to a cell phone lock code. I have a friend whose son was killed in an accident, and she said, Mary Jo, please tell these young people that they need to write their cell phone lock code somewhere. Because when my son passed away, Verizon will not unlock his phone, even with a death certificate. They will not unlock his phone. We don't even know if he had life insurance. The same thing happened in this case. The son that passed away, they didn't know what his lock code was on his phone. Everything he has is on his phone. Every password was on his phone. Thank goodness one of his friends knew the code to get in. We have to prepare. We have to talk to people because we're not getting out alive. Death benefit is necessary. As much as you want to ignore it in our conversation about infinite banking, it can't be ignored, and I will not ignore it. And when you ask me, should I have more death benefit, my answer is always going to be yes. We have to be able to afford it, no question. But is it important? Yes, it is. Because these two families need it. These two families are going to be okay. They don't need a GoFundMe account. What they need are people there helping them remember their loved ones. So as you're reading Life Without the Bank or Farming Without the Bank, Becoming Your Own Banker, as you're reading those books, don't discount the other side of it. And Nelson always said, our need for finance is greater than our need for death benefit. And yes, we're going to live, right? Most of us are going to live a long life. However, we need to prepare for if we don't and when we go, because we will all graduate, as Nelson called it. Okay, that was not some uplifting message, but it was a good message that says you need to plan. You need to take care of your family because you're doing it today. And I just felt like you guys needed to hear that this is not just a bank. This is about death benefit. And as much as people hate term insurance, and I talk about it in the book, that it's not cheaper, there is a purpose for it if we're on a budget. I don't care if you're a client or not. If you have zero death benefit as I am recording this or as you're listening to this, if you have zero death benefit, there is absolutely no excuse for that because you can go anywhere and get some term insurance. Anywhere. You can come to me and get term insurance. It doesn't matter. But we need to protect ourselves for when we graduate. It's going to happen. Okay, folks, if you are just tuning in for the first time, this was heavy. You might want to go back and listen to some of the other ones that are a little bit lighter. If you are an avid listener and you have not gotten the book, please go to withoutthebank.com, grab Life Without the Bank, Becoming Your Own Banker, get educated, do a little bit of reading, and then schedule your appointment and we can meet and talk about if this is a fit for you, how it works, what you're doing, all that good stuff. If you need me, reach out to me, Mary Jo at withoutthebank.com. And until next week, have a good one.